Hey, and welcome to my recap of Gen Con 2018, brought to you by Holy Grail Games. So this is going to be a quick recap of my experience at Gen Con 2018. I'm going to talk about the new games I played, the con in general, and then my own game design work. And those are all time-stamped in the description below if you just want to skip to one or the other. So yeah, let's get right into it. So first off, many of the hot games at Gen Con I've talked about before in other videos this year, so I'll just direct you to those linked below if you're interested in any of the games in those, so I don't reiterate it for everybody else who's already seen them. So if you're interested in my thoughts on Holding On, Reef, The Mind, Kashgar, or Welcome To, you can check out my Origins 2018 video, and if you're interested in my thoughts on Gaunt Sean Clever or Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg, you can check out my Kennerspiel 2018 video, again, linked below. I played Gizmos from Simon Games. This was my number 2 on my most anticipated list going into Gen Con, so I was very excited to get to play it. Unfortunately, I was unable to snag a copy. It sold out, and it kept selling out, and I waited in line, and it sold out before I got to the front of the line. But I had a couple of friends that got copies, so I got to play it a couple of times. In the game, it's an engine building game where you're like literally building engines, I guess, where you're taking marbles, and you can either pick, there's like a slot that has maybe 8 marbles you can see, and you can pick a certain color, or sometimes you randomly pick from the kind of supply, so it's like a randomizer thing. And you're trying to get certain amounts of certain colors in order to complete different cards that give you different abilities. So as you play, each card has another ability that you can unlock once you complete it, so you're building an engine. By the end of the game, you're going to be doing things like, okay, I take a black marble, and every time I take a black marble, it lets me take a random one, and then I'll take this card, and whenever I file this card away, it lets me automatically take 2 random ones, and now I'll complete this card, because my black marbles count as 2, and they're also, like, all that kind of stuff. So that's very interesting, and you feel very clever when doing it, even though it's very, very simple mechanics. It's a thing, too, where it's from Simon, so of course there's going to be production value, there's going to be some, like, table presence, and so the marble thing is that. It does the exact same thing you could do with cards, like you could just have a row of cards that you could see, and then a randomized shuffled deck of cards, and you'd either draw a card from the row, or shuffle the deck, or take from the shuffled deck. And so, leading into it, I was kind of like, I mean, that's literally just cards, they just made it to look nice. But I will say, it really does add something to the game. The marbles, they're very nice table presence, and it just feels better to pick a marble and then it automatically refills, or you take a random marble. It just feels different. So I will say that I actually came out really liking the use of the marbles in the game. I will say the game took a little long to get rolling. You start with a very, very ineffective engine, which is true in all engine building games, but I thought it could have started a couple of turns in. And it also got a little bit complex during the end, because the game ends when somebody has completed 16 cards, or actually 15 cards, so you have 16 total because you start with 1. But that means you have, at points in the game, you know, like, there'll be a thing where you're comboing 8 different cards together, which is fine for gamers, but, like, very casual people, or, like, my mom, would not be able to, like, remember and do all that kind of stuff. So normally Phil Walker Harding's games are very, very light. They all have strategic depth that I like a lot, but this one, despite being light and having simple mechanics, it did get a little bit, like, towards the end, a lot to kind of manage, which is neither good or bad, it's just a fact about the game. So I came away liking it. I think it's towards the mid-bottom of the Phil Walker Harding echelon of games, but as many of you know, he's probably my favorite designer these days, and I love every single one of his games, so even my least favorite Phil Walker Harding game is a game I like a whole lot, and is very, very good. So that was Gizmos. I played Scarabia by Bruno Cathallo and Ludovic Malblanc. This came out from Blue Orange Games, and it was great, because it was a total surprise to me. I had gone through the Gen Con releases list, and gone through every single game, and this one just didn't catch my eye for whatever reason. So when I heard people start talking about it at the con, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this game. And so I tried it out, and I absolutely loved it. So Bruno Cathallo co-designs with a ton of people. Most of his games are co-designs, and they're all, not all, most of them are at least pretty good. And then there's some really great ones, but there are a whole lot of just kind of pretty good ones. So while I think Bruno Cathala is a really good designer, and I'm always interested to try what he does, it's not like an automatic, I know I'm going to love this game, because he just has so many games come out. This was one that I really, really liked. It is a game based around, and the theme, I don't even know what the theme is. You're explorers, something, it doesn't matter. But it's a game based around polyomino placement, where you've got, I think, every shape that 5 squares can make in a polyomino. Like all the different combinations, all the different ways you can put 5 squares together to make a shape. And everyone is using the same polyomino on the same board at the same time, so it is multiplayer solitaire. And you're trying to enclose areas on your board of scarabs. And like Bruno Cathala's other game, King Domino, whenever you enclose an area that is at most 4x4, so it can't be any more than 4x4, but whenever a 4x4 area or smaller is enclosed, you multiply the number of scarabs in it by the number of spaces in it. So ideally, you'd want to like enclose 3 scarabs in a I'm sorry, not 4x4, 2x2, 4 squares. You'd want to enclose 3 scarabs in a 2x2 square, so then it would be 12 points because it's 3 times 4. This game was very, very puzzly, and it starts out feeling very simple, and then it gets very like grindy towards the end, where you're like, I just have like, there's a perfect placement, I need to get it there. But it is very much the kind of game that you finish and immediately everybody wants to play it again, and you always feel like, well, next time I'll do better. And it takes on the same kind of 15-minute filler role that King Domino did, but I loved King Domino. I absolutely love this game. It's got a great price point. I think the MSRP is only $30, so, you know, if you get it from a friendly local game store, it'll probably be that, or if you get it from Amazon, it'll be like in the low 20s. So that's really nice. There are not enough victory point tokens in this game. Twice in a 4-player game, we ran out of victory point tokens. And normally that's not that big a deal if you're just kind of like collecting them. But we put them, I don't know if it's said in the rules or not, but we would put like, there's like 1, 2, 3, and 4 victory point tokens. And we would put them like on top of the scarab beetle that scored that many points. So we'd put like a 4 if it scored 4 points. So then it kind of gets hard to track, and there's not a good way to keep up with it, which is a weird thing. Like, we did it one time, and we were like, I'm sure that was just an insane edge case, like, whatever. But then we did it a second time, and I think I played the game like 6 or 7 times. So, and I think I only played it 4 times with 4 players, so half of the time with 4 players, we ran out of victory point chips. So that's a weird thing. I'm probably going to wind up buying a second copy of this game, because it's for 1 to 4 players in the box, but since it's multiplayer solitaire and you're flipping a card, it's like you can play infinite because everybody uses the same stuff. So I'll probably buy a second one, because then it'll play up to 8 players, and then I'll have enough victory point tokens as long as we're not playing an 8-player game and everyone does really well. So yeah, really, really like this game. Really surprised by it. I picked up a copy, and I'm excited to show it to my gaming group. So as far as Gen Con, the convention, my overall thoughts this year. It continues to be absolutely massive. Some people might say too massive. It is just overwhelmingly large. There's never enough time to do and see everything you want to do and see. I regularly get lost like inside the convention center. I just get turned around, and then I'm like overwhelmed by how massive the place is. This year especially, I had a very condensed trip because it was primarily a business trip for me. So I didn't arrive until Thursday evening, so I missed out on all the con prior to that, and I left very early Sunday morning. So I basically only had 2 days of the convention. So with that, I kind of threw all of my expectations out the window and like just decided I'm not going to try to do and see everything. I'm going to just kind of do a couple of things. I'm going to spend time with the people I want to spend time with. I'm going to play some games. And that was really kind of nice. In previous years, I had just been stressed out and like upset that I didn't get to do some stuff, and frustrated that I didn't get to see everybody I wanted to see. And really, I mean, like, I only saw maybe a quarter of the people I wanted to see, but we just never ran into each other because there's so many people there. But I think having that kind of like focus helped me enjoy it more this year, which was really, really nice. Indianapolis is a really cool city, and the way it transforms for Gen Con is very kind of surreal. Like, I'm sure I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con or E3. I'm sure that happens for those conventions, but like pretty much every restaurant or like brewery or whatever, they have like kind of geeky stuff going on. And a lot of it's kind of silly, where it's like they make the waiters wear like Superman t-shirts, but it's kind of a nice gesture, I guess. But they'll have like themed menus. And again, it's like there was a restaurant, I think it was 3 years ago, and they had like a Looney Tunes themed menu, and I was like, oh, you have no idea, no idea what this is. But still, it's kind of weird to see geekdom completely dominate a city for a little while. Indy has good food. The convention is in a central enough location that there's a lot of cool walkable stuff, so that's good. I think it was just kind of my expectations of the con this year, but I definitely had more fun at it this year than I had in previous years. And I think maybe that's the takeaway, is just kind of focus in on a couple of things instead of trying to do everything, because it's not going to be possible. Because there were like over 10,000 different events that you could go to. Like it's just nuts. It's insane. And also, if you aren't going to be heartbroken at not buying the new hotness, because it's going to be out in a month or two anyway, and you'll be able to get it, and you don't need it right now, it's fine. Just kind of going in with that mindset, I think, is really good for this convention, because otherwise you're inevitably going to be disappointed because it's just too much to actually handle. So as far as my game design work and stuff like that, as I mentioned, this was mainly a business trip for me. I wasn't planning on going to Gen Con earlier in the year, but it became apparent that I was going to have enough meetings and stuff that it would justify the cost for me. So I was only there for 2 days, so I really had to pack a bunch of stuff in. I had meetings. It looks like I'm going to have either 4 or 5 games coming out next year, which is really exciting, but that also means there's a lot of stuff to kind of manage and check in on. I met with a publisher I've worked with about working on another IP for them, so that's really exciting. So I'm going to be doing at least one, probably 2 games in an IP that I like a whole lot for that publisher, so that's great. I was hired to design a dice version of the game Lanterns a while back, so that is now, I've like finished my design work on it and they are developing it, so I got to check in kind of on their development on that, and that was really cool, seeing a game getting developed that's not, like I obviously didn't design the original Lanterns game, so like I got to work in that world. That was really cool. And then seeing the development process happen and kind of how the game's evolving and changing based on their feedback is also really interesting, and like seeing a game get refined is cool. But I loved working on that project, and I'm really excited that it's doing what it's doing, and I really, really like the design that we're winding up with. I demoed Darwinauts for Green Couch Games. That is a game that will be on Kickstarter either later this year or early next year, depending on when we get our artwork finished. And that's a lot of fun too, I've been working on that game for years and years, so like being able to demo it for people and see like people's fresh reactions to it is really fun and really nice, and I really like that game, and I'm really happy with how that's turning out. And I met with some potential business partners that I've been talking to kind of discuss what we're doing in game design and what we could kind of make as a potential kind of business thing, and that went really well, and so who knows what that'll become, but that was fun. Overall, it was a great con. It was very, very productive for me. I didn't pitch much. It was mostly just meetings and checking in on stuff, but yeah, it was a blast. I didn't go to Gen Con last year, and I didn't miss it, but I think I'll probably be going next year, and I would miss it if I didn't go. Because as I mentioned, I think I finally, after like 5 years, gotten a hold on like how I personally need to experience the con to have the most fun. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you like this kind of content. I do weekly board game news videos, so every single week I do a short video, 5 to 10 minutes, talking about kind of the biggest news in board games each week, so it's a really good way to kind of keep up with what's going on without spending a lot of time. Also, follow me on social media. I'm at Chris Bryan Games on Instagram and Twitter. If you like this kind of stuff, it's the easiest way to keep up with it. And also, if you found any value in this video, I run a Patreon. So if you are interested in throwing me a buck or two, it's linked in the description below, and it would be very much appreciated. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.